This test, this experience, this lesson is honestly, I would say, the most important of this list. And I'm not just saying that for myself, but based on what Pastor Steve said before. We were in this meeting and we asked him, Pastor Steve, what do you look for in a leader? And he looked at us and he gave us the sarcastic answer. He goes, oh, there's a book about that called Multiplying Leaders. It's a multiplication challenge. And we were like, okay, great. And he goes, there's a chapter there about identification. And we said, okay, great. And then he said, and in that chapter, whoever the author is happens to write how he um, identifies leaders. And he said, FAITH, faithful, available, involved, teachable, and hungry. But then we pushed him and we said, okay, but of that five, what's the most important for you? Which one would you say he could not have these other four, but he could get there? And he said, teachable, quickly. How they respond to correction. And if this person is called to ministry, you want to check, are they teachable? Can they respond to correction well? Proverbs chapter 12, verse 1, one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. I find it funny that the Bible calls someone stupid. But what is stupid in God's eyes? It's not making a mistake. It's not being awkward. No, what's stupid is if you don't want to be corrected. It's okay to make mistakes. Just be willing to get corrected. How are you with receiving correction? Does it take long to correct you? Do I have to build up a lot? Or can you just take it, receive it, and let's move on and be normal? I like how Pastor Jim LaFoon said it one time. He said, when it costs too much for people to correct you, because it takes so much time, because it takes so much energy, because it creates so much drama, if it costs so much for people to correct you, then eventually they'll just stop doing it. That's the reality. They'll stop. Because to them, it's like, nakapagod eh. I don't have 2 hours to tell you you went overtime for 5 minutes. If it's gonna take 2 hours because magdadabog ka pa, iiyak ka pa, kakwento mo pa sa akin kung ano pa nangyari nung umagang yun, kaya mali ako na ginawa ko yun, wag na lang. And that's bad for you. Because you're not gonna get the correction you need. Pastor Jim described 2 ways that people do this, that they respond poorly. He said they either make a mess or they become a mess. Some people make a mess. You correct them and you say, hey, you were 5 minutes over and you're, what? Grabe naman to. Ang unempowering, ang controlling. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Some other people, they don't make a mess, but they become a mess. It's happened to me. Kasi yung nanay ko, di ako nilalagan. It's like, why did it have to go there? Now, we're not saying we're against ministry or IHD, inner healing and deliverance. Obviously, you need to be sensitive to people like that. But what I mean is when people respond poorly, when every conversation and correction turns into an inner healing and deliverance moment. And I know this because I was like that. It's very difficult to correct. And I remember one time my then boss and supervisor and leader, L.A. Momar, who many of you know, pulled me aside and said, Joe, I need to correct you about something, but before I correct you, can I ask you for a favor? And I said, okay, sure. What's the favor? And he goes, can I correct you and then you be normal after I correct you? And I said, what? What do you mean? And he said, well, because every time I correct you, something happens and the rest of the day is ruined. Not just for you, but we're all affected because you get so heavy around the office and you listen to your music with your big headphones and you don't mind us, you don't have lunch with us. I don't know if you're going to commit suicide or resign. All I did was correct you. So can we do this? Can I correct you? And then I'd like you to be normal after that. I forgot what LA corrected me about then. But I can't forget that favor because I realized I was making it hard for him to correct me. I was doing what Pastor Jim said. He was getting tired of doing it because to him, I don't have 45 minutes to remind you again that God loves you, God called you, you know. And so I learned. I'm so grateful to him for teaching me that. And there's actually a tip there for those of us who need to correct people. Correct them and then do something normal after. Stephen Mansfield said, whenever he corrects someone, he'll plan something normal first, like watch a movie, dinner, and then he'll correct them before that. So that when after the correction, they're forced to be normal with each other. They'll have dinner to show that, look, the relationship's not broken. We're fine. You're still loved. You're still accepted. I just needed to adjust something. Try that with people. At para sa iba sa inyo, kung may nagsiset ng movie sa inyo, baka kailangan ko yung i-correct ng maganda. Correction is a normal part of our life. How people respond to it will tell us how whether or not we'll be great as part of our team.